Boy, it's been a couple of years now since I conceived the idea. I graduated in May of 2007, and that's when the film kind of premiered in all of its venues. But I had the idea for the film as early as fall of 2005 when I started conceiving my senior project. I thought about it a year and a half in advance before a lot of the other students would start thinking about it. So I just started drawing some sketches, and I knew I wanted to do something a little longer than like the 4-minute range, something more in like the 7 to 8, 9-minute range, it turned out. And so I knew it was going to take a lot of preliminary thinking and planning, and so that first semester of 2005 was just storyboarding and modeling assets and kind of figuring out, you know, how far I wanted to take this thing in scope. And once I committed to it, I had 3 more semesters to dedicate to it, and somehow in there I was able to learn on the fly. I kind of learned rigging and animation and asset management all by the seat of my pants making this 9-minute film. And you don't have to make a film that's that long to learn that, but I would definitely, you know, recommend learning by making a film rather than learning by, you know, just choosing a task to fulfill, so to speak. Like, well, if you want to learn animation and storytelling and rigging, making a film is the best way to kind of wrap it all together into one experience.
So I assume you went to MCAD with the intention of being an animation
Oh, absolutely,
person.
yeah.
So you'd been in love with it for some time?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm one of those kids who just grew up watching the Disney shorts, the Warner Brothers shorts, all the Disney features. My favorite film as a kid was Roger Rabbit because I loved the way they integrated it. It just blew my mind as a kid that they could interact with these characters. I mean, that's like, as a kid, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to make cartoons do that, interact with people. And the older I got and the more I learned about the technique, the more I realized that just character animation in general was something I wanted to do. And I went to MCAD with the long-term goal of being a Pixar or a Disney animator. And as that's progressed, I've realized that I also just love making films. So if I can tell my own story, I'm happy to do it.
So when you were crafting Mortimer and Bracket, did you like storyboard everything way ahead of time, design everything, every little aspect of it before hitting the computer, or did you sort of leave some things to when you got to working on the computer to figure those things out?
Mostly the former. I definitely storyboarded the whole thing. I actually think I storyboarded the whole thing in under 3 days. I think I just blasted through the whole story because I had written a script, and it was a fairly dialogue-heavy script. And the actual film only has about half the dialogue that was in the original script, because when I started storyboarding it and it read more like a comic strip, I realized which gags played better just without talking, you know? And that became kind of the hard-earned lesson of the film, was that less talking you have in animation, the better. So when I watch it now, I even cringe at some of the dialogue. But yes, storyboarded it first, designed the characters, kind of thought about the story and everything first, because I had read that was the way to do it, you know? But I definitely had conceived it as a 2D film first, but when the scope of it became as big as it was, and I did want to learn 3D, I decided, well, maybe this is a good opportunity for me to really push myself and embrace the 3D computer animation.
So as you were going through your classes, did you inform the instructors, I'm working on this huge project, how can this class help me with that? Or
oh yeah.
Did you? Okay. And how were they able to work with you? And like, did you show them what you had, and then they would say, oh, well, we can do this, or you could do this?
Yeah, and I actually took some of the animation classes earlier than other students at MCAD, because I came in having experienced a little bit of it in high school, and so my instructors were able to guide me earlier in the process.
Okay, so since you have successfully made the leap from student filmmaker to actually being employed as a filmmaker in town, no less. Maybe you could spill some of the secrets of that for those students who have yet to go through that scary process.
Well, it's work hard and be sincere about your work, and also get to know as many people as you can within your community, because I was fortunate enough to get my job through a student who had graduated 3 years before me. He became a partner in the company that I work for now while I was still in school, and I had done a little bit of freelancing for them because he knew me and he knew what I could do. And their company was blossoming parallel to my time developing in school, and by the time I graduated, they offered me a job as a lead animator at the studio, and I took it because it was a good opportunity, and it was local, and it was people I knew. It was a good stepping stone, and a good stepping stone turned into a good status quo.
So is it usual for someone to go straight from school to becoming a lead animator?
Oh, sorry. Can you repeat that? I'm sorry.
That's okay. We'll fix it all in post.
Sure.
Is it unusual for someone to go straight from school to being a lead animator, or?
You know, I guess I have nothing to compare it to. I guess if it's a small studio, maybe not, because I know in California there are so many great schools, and in New York as well, where people who graduate become supervising or lead animators at smaller studios. It all really depends on the skill sets and the competence of the person, but I think in Minneapolis it might be a little unusual just because our community is, you know, smaller than Los Angeles or Portland or New York. But we have a community, and a lot of the people I know who are doing great things in this community are still really young. So I think, you know, that first few years out of school, people really move quickly into what they're going to do, or at least in that direction.
When you're creating commercials, how does the process work? Are you guys in charge of the whole process from start to finish, or does like an advertising agency come to you and say, here's what we'd like to do?
Most of our clients are advertising agencies. There's a rare occasion where you'll have somebody who found out about us and has the money to back to justify us producing animation for them. But most of our clients, our bread and butter clients especially, are ad agencies like Fallon or Target or Best Buy, Campbell Mithun, to name a few. And they have an art director usually, and depending on how established or how much clout the agency has, they may or may not have a really picky art director. They'll talk to the client and kind of figure out what the client wants the piece to look like, and then they'll have their art director refine that idea. And depending on, like I said, the agency's determination about the project, their art director might be really picky with how our animation looks, or they might say, this is the general idea, but you guys feel free to explore your own ideas. And I know that my boss, my producer at Make, really likes us to explore our own ideas as much as possible. And whenever we have a client who's open to that, we usually try and oversell a lot of our ideas to see if they like any of the ones that we like.
Does the company you work for strictly work for clients like that, or does it do any of its own original stuff?
Oh, we try and produce as much of our own original content as possible. In fact, I've directed, I think, no less than 3 short films at Make, and we try to do at least 1 or 2 short films a year to kind of exercise a new style. And even more than that, we usually do 2 or 3 smaller things that are like 30-second spots or speculative ads that we generate on our own, just to show people like what we'd like to be doing. Like, here's what we can do, you know. And when you're a young company, you have to create the work yourself to justify what you'd like to be doing. You can't just enter the market and say, well, we want to be doing these. You have to do it and then show people that you've done it. So a lot of the early years of a developing company or artist is creating work that you would want to be doing and then showing it to the people that might possibly want you to do something like that for them.
So even though you're at what some people would say is, oh, he's working at this corporation, there's still plenty of room for creativity and,
oh, yeah,
and original work. So although you're not working at the same scope as like you would say if you had gone to Pixar, you're still getting to get your hands into Pixar kind of stuff. Yeah,
well, we've done some 3D character animation that to me is extremely high-end, especially compared to like my school project, which was done using the same tools but not to the same level of polish and detail. And we have a lot of those internal projects are really rewarding because, you know, you're getting paid for the time, but you have to make the best of it because we don't have all the time in the world to make them. So it becomes this crash course of like, let's make something that looks great, make something that, you know, isn't the expected type of client work that you would get, but we can be proud of it both on a personal level and on a professional level, and hopefully it gets us some work, and usually it does in some roundabout kind of way.
Thanks so much for coming by and visiting with us. And
thank you, Lawrence. This was great.
We wish you success in all your future animations.
And, thank you.
And we wish you success in recruiting more people from MCAD.
Oh, sure, yeah. It's a great community to draw from.
Next up, we have a short that comes to us all the way from Norway. It's called 5. Pay special attention to the actress, although she's kind of pigeonholed into Norway right now. Her name is Beatney Bednar, I believe that's how it's pronounced. She's really good and could probably, if she's able to speak English well, break out and become worldwide, world-renowned actress.